You are the guru on stress, productivity, well-being. Sister, I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Uh, Recognition and appreciation expert friend.
Okay, so here's what we decided we were going to chat about. Why am I so exhausted when I'm doing everything right? I mean, this isn't even jumping into a question that is more specific than, are you hearing this from your beautiful clients as well? That people are feeling this way?
Absolutely. We are busier than ever. We are living in a world that is pulling us in more directions than ever. We are more distracted than ever, and trying to do the best work through all of that. So I'm not surprised that while juggling all of those things and try to be seen and heard in a busy environment, that most of us are still exhausted, even though we're trying to do it all right.
Yeah. And I think the platitudes around stop being a perfectionist and give yourself a break. I mean, hey, good advice. And it's not as simple as like one or two, remember the days when we would write articles or we would read them on like the 7 hacks and the 5 tips?
Now you
Obviously, it
have
took more than five.
an entire internet that will give you everything. You've got ChatGPT, you've got everything that's going to load you up. And I mean, this is a really key. This is one of the main reasons I think that we're struggling because we know more about wellness than ever. So there's lots and lots and lots of information out there. But the challenge, of course, is that our head gets full and we don't have integration of even a nano bit of what we are learning. So, I mean, I think that that's a challenge for us because we get too busy and then we take all that information and it just weighs us down. It's like, oh my God,
And I
I'll
think we
get to
kind
it
of then
tomorrow.
judge ourselves that we shouldn't be weighed down. We should know better. We should
Hmm.
process the information. We know better.
Yeah.
We have access to all of these information. We have access. We've got 18 apps. We have two courses we just bought yesterday, and Instagram just convinced us that we also, by the way, through our ads, should do these other three things. And all it's going to take is $29 if we pay for those things. Like it's almost that sense of I now need to be implementing. Are you
And
finding
think
that
about
too?
that because when we're thinking about trying to stay energized and to kind of quell exhaustion, we go, okay, I need to move more. I need to eat better. I need to sleep better. I need to drink more water. And we do all of those things and think that that's going to help us get more energy. But all of the things that you just listed there, and it can be constant interruptions, digital overload, chronic stress, decision fatigue, um, lack of connection with our colleagues, those are what I call hidden energy leaks. And we tend to dismiss them and not really realize the impact that those things have on draining our energy. It's quite overwhelming when you think about it.
I have to tell you, I have called myself out on some of these things lately.
Yep.
Like I've sadly been truth telling. This is what happens when you reach 50. You have to start telling yourself some truth. And one of the things that I used to think was true is that I used to take staycations. But you know what I used to take? Obligations. I would load up my week or two off with doctor's appointments and cooking goals and oh my gosh. And it would not only was that all very tiring, but also I was disappointed that I didn't get the energy back. So your point around energy leaks, I would sometimes create my own leaky bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk about that because,
Okay.
in my presentations, I talk a lot about resilience and how it can fool us because resilience is the ability to adapt and recover from stressful or challenging situations. Adapt or recover from stressful or challenging situations. Now, most of us have high resilience based on that because of the first factor to be able to adapt. We can adapt like bosses and you can take on more and you can try the next recipe and you can add one more thing to your to-do list and can invite one more colleague into the chat. You can do all the go. And what we forget to do, and I think this is key when we're talking about that exhaustion, even though we're doing everything, is that we forget to recover, to
Yes.
adapt and recover. And that recovery piece, we're not doing it. We're spending energy faster than we can restore it.
And I feel like it's about not having a conditional relationship with our greatness. You are not great as long as you've gotten all these things done, as long
Mhm.
as you have an efficient vacation, as long as you reach that ideal weight, as long as you are the one who is most regarded by all of your
Mhm.
colleagues. It's the opposite of what I'm always espousing in organizations about recognizing yourself and others. If it's
Yeah.
all conditional, that's rewards based. Like
Yes.
but you don't have to earn your rest.
No. You don't have to earn your rest. And I also, gosh, when we talk about, energy and getting rid of exhaustion and stress management in the workplace, it's not even about earning your rest, it's about earning your moments during your workday. If more leaders would understand how far a thank you goes, to helping somebody feel more buoyant in the workplace, if
Yeah.
you think about some hard work that you've done or something that you were going to gift someone and then they kind of took it and went meh, or you have that one person who never says thank you no matter what. We leave that interaction feeling, like
Yeah.
disappointed, drained. Now imagine if your work environment is like that and all of your work is conditional. You're
Yeah.
not getting the, hey, I see you. Hey, I think you're fantastic. Wow, that's like, if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be getting done. The amount of difference it would make if more, I mean, I'm speaking to the choir here with you,
Yeah.
but um, from a physiological energy standpoint, that is a um, that is a recovery tactic that most leaders need to do better because that's part of resilience
And I love that
recognition.
you said that. I love that you connected it back to wellness and about energy and productivity because sometimes people think it's soft. And oftentimes I find that we're trying to translate it's not soft from a business value around business outcomes, retention and focus and innovation. It's also important to talk about at an individual performance level and all throughout one's day and all throughout one's week, how there's constant moments where you can be plugging up the bucket that's leaking, energy leakage. Recognition is one of those things to say, how did you do that so quickly?
Yeah.
That is a form of recognition. It's also good data for you, leader and colleague, to find out there's a more efficient way. And for that person who's like, I am not getting enough. I mean, how often do you sometimes feel this way, Michelle? I mean, like, really? You think that that's great? I actually been thinking I'm not being efficient enough
And
because
it's a skill that you possess that the viewer doesn't possess. I often say this in my presentations. If somebody gives you praise, like don't dismiss it because they're witnessing something in you that they think is amazing, or they're witnessing something in you that they don't possess at a higher level. And then you get to sit there and go, look
yeah,
at me go.
yeah.
It hadn't occurred to me. And that's buoyancy and that's going to add to the resilience piece. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me.
Hmm.
I I have a I have a I mean it's not related to work, but it's a resentment that I have been carrying around since I got my dog in 2020. She's
Oh,
six and a
I
half
love
now.
a good resentment confession. Tell
Well,
me.
I mean, my husband and I had driven 8 hours to Prince George to pick up our dog, and we were kind enough to transport one other puppy back to their next owner, and across the province and several stops, and using our own gas and saving them money and dropping the dog off at their daughter's place in Banff. Do you think that they said thank you?
Are you
They
you're kidding me?
they accepted the dog as if we were performing some sort of perfunctory duty, and I still hold resentment 6.5 years later. Now you think about this in a work environment. If an individual or a team or a department is carrying resentments for not being seen, not being appreciated, being overlooked, imagine what the impact of that is on workplace engagement and productivity and all the things that we need in order to be successful. I think about that all the time. It's like a
It's
thank
a
you
great example.
goes a long way.
And
Whew,
when
thanks
somebody's
for letting me
gone the
get that off
extra,
there.
yeah, I love it. It's such a perfect example because I bet you any money I know I was thinking of, I'm sure everyone watching or listening to this, they've just thought of their own example.
Yeah.
their own thing. I mean, hey, we all feel that way when we let somebody in on the highway. Like before we let them in, we're like, look at me, I'm amazing. And then we let them in, they don't wave. We're like,
We're
we
looking for the
become like
way.
a ragey, angry, and we're like, oh, and then we go home and tell people, you would not believe what happened to me
You would
today.
not believe. So at work, when we let our colleagues or our bosses rent space in our head, or when they act in a way such that they're taking up space in our head, that is a productivity killer. That is a I love my job killer. That is a engagement killer. It's the little things that we do that make the biggest impact. Yeah, it's
And that's where I think people can also remember that even if you're not getting the recognition, right? Like, how can you give it to somebody else who isn't getting it? Like, I really feel like part of people remembering how much they matter, their work matters, their organization matter, their industry matters, is that they stand for it, even without first being acknowledged for it. So if you're working alongside, I'm thinking of hospitality. Hospitality often does not get appreciation. They often don't have the job security. And yet, if we want a good time, we want to go out and enjoy ourselves, we depend on them. We expect them to be there. So they very rarely get thanked by both the customer as well as by, within the system. And so imagine if you know that. So rather than being like, I bet you I'm not even going to get thanked today. I'm going to give all this for everybody else. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to pre-decide nobody's getting any rent. I'm going to actually be helping to pay other people's rent this class or this shift. I'm going to thank at least 3 colleagues who are doing something that made a difference to me. Because probably they're going to need it and I'm going to feel better for it. I'm not going to do it
the
because I have to.
physiological explanation for why that works. Like
Tell me.
science is my jam, but when kindness that we give, kindness that we receive, kindness that we even view happening around us or on our social media puppy videos or whatever it is, releases the happy hormones in our body. We get that oxytocin hit, and so we feel more calm and contented, less fear and stress, more focus and energy, simply because we've experienced that hit of kindness, that hit of
Yeah.
oxytocin, if you will.
Yeah.
It's science. It's kindness
And
and it's science.
it's your point. I love too that you said it's about when it's around us. Like that's the other great thing about what we have control over. We can't control a lot of things in our day. However, we can control what we pay attention to. We can control what others will pay attention to as well. So would we rather acknowledge somebody, what they are doing well, particularly if we're noticing somebody else is exhausted? If we're feeling exhausted and somebody else is, we don't get more we're not going to get even more exhausted by acknowledging them. If we
We might
see
get more exhausted by complaining alongside them, but
exactly
I'm going to drag you down further because I'm also
right,
feeling dragged down. But to your point, yes, we're not going to, if we don't, if we share okay, I'll let you continue now.
yeah, yeah, but not. I mean, hey, preach. Yes, you're so. We often say to ourselves, "I'm going to feel better if we vent." You know what? And then the other person now owns. You've just asked them, could I just borrow a little bit more of that rent in your
Yeah.
space?
Instead
Rent
of, gosh,
in your
like
head.
it's a tough day. Like what's the one good thing that's going on today? Like what are you celebrating?
And the rituals that we do for ourselves, I think are more likely to translate into workplace. I'll tell you, can I share with you one of the things that I've had to start bringing back into my anytime I'm feeling
Absolutely.
exhausted, can I share with you?
Yeah.
So I know it sounds really basic, but sometimes the basics are what works. A gratitude journal. That was what I was
Mhm.
doing for a very long time. One of the things that got me through COVID. 5 things that I'm grateful for. Can be tiny, can be big. But then I up the game. Here's how I up the game. Things that I want to recognize about my own greatness. Even the person who professes recognition and self recognition sometimes is sitting there after 3 going, oh my gosh, why did I decide I was going to do this? And sometimes it's the same thing. Almost every day lately, it's been gratitude. But I'm like, I made up the rules. Why is that cheating? I feel grateful. Like, isn't that, if I had to put one thing that I felt about that I'm proud of myself every day, is being grateful? That sounds like a well-being strategy to me.
Well, it is. And I call mine my amazing list. Write down 20 things about yourself that you think are amazing. And it can be anything. I bake a great loaf of bread, or I'm excellent at growing tomatoes, or, I'm a good listener, whatever it might be. But I think that it's good to recognize that for ourselves, because there are going to be the days where we're not going to be getting recognition from out there to stop and say, this is how I recognize my own. I mean, your business name, greatness, it says it all.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not good at it. I do an exercise in one of my keynotes where I get people to turn to each other and brag about themselves, and it just turns into laughter because we're not good at singing our own praises.
Yeah. And yet, when we do, as you're saying, the laughter, it feels good. And if we're both getting outside our comfort zone from a place of creating a positive momentum, that's the kind of infectious that creates weird energy maybe at first, but it converts it into, what do you call it? Exponential energy, connection energy. What is the energy that sparks from something that seems so random, like a brag to each other? What is that?
Emotional or social energy, but I don't know if there's an actual name for it, and if there is, I don't know. But I just think that anytime that we can connect, anytime that we can create those moments of relief, I mean, that also improves, psychological safety. It also creates psychological safety in an environment where I can be vulnerable and it's okay.
Yeah. I would
And
love for the
like when we
day.
talk about lack of recognition too, that one of the negatives from not enough of it is that belonging and job satisfaction go down, psychological
100%.
safety goes down.
Yeah.
Like those all have a bottom line, and it's not just airy fairy, soft
It's
skills that we need to learn.
and it's your life balance sheet. Like, yes, you and I both speak in mostly associations and corporate contexts, and also every person in the room is a human being, not just a human doing, a human being. So how is this adding or subtracting from your life balance sheet? Is it on the expenses side of things, or is it on the income?
Yeah.
And recognition, whether you're self-recognition or recognizing somebody else, it's on the profit side
Yeah.
of it leads to a profit at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I call it your energy budget or your attention budget, because you've got a fixed amount of it every single day, and every interruption, every unnecessary meeting, and notifications, emotionally draining people makes a withdrawal, right? But if you have meaningful conversations and gratitude that you were speaking about, purposeful work, daily movement, which is high on my list, recovery, taking your break, those all make deposits. And I think that we need to, and that goes back to what I was saying about the definition of resilience, the ability to adapt and recover from stressful or challenging situations. So putting in more of those deposits. And there's a really interesting viewpoint on stress that speaks exactly to that I can share with you if you like.
I want to hear about it immediately.
Well, I mean, you can tell me if this is different for you, but I speak on stress management, and for a lot of years, I was talking about the bad cortisol and the bad impact of cortisol on your body, which is a very real thing. But I was missing out for years on, we talked about bad stress and good stress, but I wasn't talking about good stress. Cortisol kind of is that bad hormone, and it's a catabolic hormone. It breaks down the body. The other aspect of stress, good stress, is when your body, exercise is a form of good stress. Doing something that's challenging and a little bit scary that you were excited about is a form of good stress. Releases from your body another hormone called DHEA, which is dehydroepiandrosterone, which is an anabolic steroid, which actually boosts your growth, which actually boosts your resilience. And here's the thing about DHEA. You can get more of that in a busy, stressful day through anything that reduces chronic stress or increases recovery. You can get more of the positive hormone through anything that reduces chronic stress or increases recovery. And recovery comes in those micro moments we've been talking about, in those micro appreciations, in those I see you, I hear you moments. Those are recovery moments that people
I
fail to recognize.
I love that, and thank you for that more solution focused, I'm going to say, approach to stress, because if we only see what's not working about it, then we don't probably we're not terribly motivated to look for solutions. So I suspect a lot more people are curious about learning more about stress when they say, what do I need to understand about how it can actually fuel performance? Because hey, there's athletes, there's Everest climbers, I mean, hey, you and your hubby are you're on like these fat bikes, and don't you go down hills that are like,
Yes. Yeah, we
that,
are mountain bikers. We do a
yeah.
lot of single
So
track down steep rocky stuff, and that is good stress to
to
me. It
you,
might be bad stress to you, but until you learned it. But to
yeah,
you, getting out in the kayak with your husband, or
yeah,
doing the wonderful cooking things you do in your kitchen, all good things that contribute, because
yeah,
it's recovery, and it's anything that reduces chronic stress.
yeah.
So
And
it's
And when I say to you, and it's true, I am so in awe how you're continually learning and you're building a body of work that makes a difference, and that you practice what you preach. Um, your love of learning, and you're the real deal. Like really, and you're a kind person. Those are like the three biggest compliments I could ever give somebody, which is
Did you just see what happened? Like right there. She just, recognition expert, just seamlessly flipped that in. And that was very authentic. That was very specific to me. And I felt that.
yeah.
And that's like, thank you for sampling. Because I
Well,
mean,
it's true, and it's true because I feel like you need to appreciate what you want to see more of, and all of those things I desperately want to see more of, particularly in our speaking world. And I really, really value those in you. And I feel like you're like a great wine. You keep getting better, and because you are committed to that. Those are the real things, the real deal. I don't even drink wine anymore, but I still value when people, like they carefully curate it.
doing the things that we love and doing them well. I mean, yeah. I mean, if that's one of the things that I admire about you is how hard you work. Not only how hard you work, but how hard you recognize when you work too hard, because you're
Mm,
creating so many amazing things in the recognition space that is other people aren't doing. It's at levels that I've never seen. Because and before meeting you, I actually didn't know of any other recognition speakers. So you've cornered the market on that. But you had a point last year where you realized that the hard work wasn't sustainable. And me, as a kind of wellness high performance expert, thought, Amen, sister. Back off. You'll be fine. And you did. I mean, I didn't tell you to. You figured it out on your own. And now you're a yoga instructor, and you're doing all these things on the flip side of
yeah,
failing. See what I did
yeah.
there? That's one of her books.
And I just happen to have it right here because I was using it before, but I'm so glad I didn't put it away. It's true. And by you acknowledging those in me, it makes me want to keep doing them. That it feels like it's not, those weren't just gifts for me. If that is visible to you, maybe it's visible to somebody else.
Well, and
And
let me tell you, the important thing is that wellness has always come easy to me. I've got a master's in kinesiology. I used to be a personal trainer. I used to teach this stuff at the college. Like it's ingrained in my DNA. I have no problem with fitting in exercise and finding that balance. And I realized that because it's easy for me, it's not easy for everybody else. And everybody wants it and has the best intentions, and it's not always easy. So I always talk about small steps for great gains. And so it is, first of all, in your case, as you did, recognizing that the ship's not
mhm,
sitting level in the ocean. It's like, all right, we're off balance here. What are we going to do next?
yeah.
Recognition first of the
And
off balance, and then recognition of moving forward.
And if it's not, and if it's not working, try something else. And I've had 50 years of trying and failing at things. So I'm getting rather good at it. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I'm quite good at getting in my own way. And then now the good thing is I'm getting much better about getting out of it. But I say that, and I'm being kind of silly, but I'm also kind of not being, because sometimes people think that when, you know, we're the ones standing on a stage, that we have all of life thing figured out. We've got our businesses figured out, our marriages figured out, our relationships figured out. And I think probably a good compliment to ourselves is we're always figuring it out. Like,
You say that I'm a student of everything that I teach. I never used the stage as my therapy, but
mhm.
when I learn things, I will share what I've learned with my audiences very humbly, because I've fallen on my face more times than I care to admit. And I think that brings a lot of authenticity to the experience, because I'm not shooting on anybody. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
standing here going, I know you can do this. I
Mm.
know that these are small steps, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for how effective small, consistent steps every day can be towards the things that we want to be better.
And to
I
your
want to talk
point
about
about,
this recognition thing with with regards to my mother, because when I was in my 30s, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mom.
mm,
And it's not that we hated each other. It just like, we just kind of butt heads. And I, dad had passed away when I was 17. And so he's the only surviving parent. And I had been counseling, and my counselor said, well, just tell your mom that you love her. And I'm like, well, but then it's going to make her uncomfortable. And the counselor said, you're not telling your mother that you hate her. You're telling her that you love her. It's a small step. Her
right.
reaction is up to her. But you're not like, so it'll land the way it's going to land, as long as you're extending a kindness, even a small one. I think telling somebody you love them is pretty good. But if it feels awkward, because some people, if they're not used to giving it, might be thinking, they know how I feel about them. Well, try telling them, right?
Right.
Try
And
telling them.
what was the result?
Well, I mean, my mom is 92 now, and like, yeah, no, it took a little while, but I just kind of, I don't want to say killed her with kindness, because but I would just tell her every time I saw her, love you, mom, and eventually she started responding back,
Mm,
and she's much more soft and gushy now that she's older, but
yeah.
back in the day she was very, yeah.
Well,
If
and
you're
hey, we
thinking about
probably
doing it, if you're thinking about extending that compliment, don't wait. Just
and
put it out there. It's not
and
like you're
it's
telling that person that they're awful, you know?
I it's great advice, and thank you for sharing that example, because I'm sure some people can think about, oh yeah, that makes me think about my neighbor, my boss, my colleague. We think that sometimes their persona of being gruff or tough or direct means that they're immune to needing to know that
Yeah.
they are valued, seen, heard, appreciated. But actually, you know, those are often the folks that need to be had have an olive branch of appreciation extended. When I say an olive branch, is because sometimes it really does feel like I feel like I'm crossing to the other side of like building a relationship where you've only taken from me, you know, that point around,
Yeah.
you know, like what
Well,
we
and that can
choose.
be true of people that we work with too, because there might be that difficult person that you just don't get along with. I'm managing this team, and that I can't find anything good to say about that guy. You
Yeah.
know, we're very good at giving praise to our rock stars, right?
Mm,
But what about if you were to find that one little nugget of brilliance, or one little good thing about that really hard knock, the one that, like, I should probably fire them, so and
yeah.
so. The difficult ones like that are the ones that need it the most, and they're also the hardest to reach. But I guarantee, and you know this better than I do, if we give praise to the people that are kind of our tough cases, they will rise to the occasion,
Yeah.
because they probably haven't gotten it very much. Imagine
What
that,
gets appreciated gets repeated. So if you want people, whatever you want to see more of, as you were saying, it could be this very small thing that you're like, that works.
Yeah.
Seeing that and acknowledging that, you got a place to grow from.
I said
Yeah.
this to my assistant probably a year and a half ago. All I said was, if it wasn't for you, and then you can fill in the blank. If it wasn't for you, I was talking about how hard she works to, look for new leads for me as a speaker. If it wasn't for you and doing all that work, I wouldn't be as busy and successful as I am. And just to see how she changed, the amount, like, she puts more energy into it now. I swear she does. But if it wasn't for you, fill in the blanks. I, I used to be a bad leader because I would just say, hey, you're doing a great job. That's not enough.
Well, that was you're on the journey. I think a bad leader is tearing people down, right? Is
Yeah,
saying you're
thank you for
never,
that. Yeah.
yeah, you're never doing enough. This is what you're doing that's wrong.
Yeah.
You should be different. You should be more like so and so. So, yeah. And it's um the point, I think one of the things I just heard you say is you got more specific. And you
Be
got
more
specific
specific.
in two ways. One is about what she's doing well. But the other thing that I heard you say, and this is a very important nuance that I hope people also heard, is you explain how it makes a difference to you. Your greatness has this direct impact on me, because that is one of the key things that we need to understand about mattering. Recognition is often how we deliver it, it's what we say. But it's translated through a gratitude appraisal system. Does it matter to me, and is it authentic? Then we feel grateful for it, and when we feel grateful for it, then we can actually receive the recognition. There's this invisible gratitude loop that
Mhm.
you have now. You found the secret sauce. And the great news is it's not manipulation, it's additive. It's
Well,
making
and
you
I'll tell you,
better.
authenticity is one of my, if not my highest, one of my highest values. And I want to be the same on the stage as I am off. And I want
Mm.
praise and recognition to come off from the heart. So I can't give platitudes. If I don't feel it, it's hard for me to say it. And I need to get better at finding a way to extend what you called the olive branch in cases where it feels challenging. But
Mm.
I love that authentic element because I think that inauthenticity is an energy drain.
And I think that one of the benefits that we have with people who are very authentic, they may be direct, they may be authentic, they may be like honest. These are all wonderful virtues. And sometimes we arm ourselves like, I'm not going to take that feedback from somebody who has that combination. It's like it feels too vulnerable. But that's exactly who you need the feedback from. Now, we don't take feedback from somebody that we don't feel would be protective of our head, our heart, our soul. Like if they don't care, or if they will treat it carelessly, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
However, somebody who believes that we have potential and we see potential in them, there's a mutual exchange of value that can happen.
Yeah.
And so building psychological safety is often the asking for feedback. And I want to say this specifically because I love it anytime you're in an audience. In fact, the first time I delivered a speech a number of years ago, you were in the audience, and I said, I've never delivered this speech before, and I'm trying to decide if I'm ever going to deliver it again. So I would like your feedback. And you said, or do you want my honest feedback? And I said, yes. Well, it was invaluable feedback. A lot of the feedback I got was valuable for any speech that I will ever deliver. B, it allowed me to see what is kind of my true personality. When you stretch outside of your comfort material, you get a chance to see like how do you show up no matter what you're talking about. So what works, what doesn't. But also it gave me data to substantiate should I keep doing it or not. And you know what? I decided not because of what you said, but because I believe that you respected me enough to give me the fulsome feedback, and that you believe that I was strong enough as a speaker to be able to receive it. I decided, you know what? I don't think this is the right fit. That was invaluable. As
The
opposed to,
interesting thing about that is it was a good presentation. Like it was, if you kept doing it, it would be great. But here's the thing that I believe about, feedback, since we're talking about it now. When we do something and perform something, deep down we know how we think we performed. And you had some feelings about how that landed for you.
mhm,
And if I come in and say, "Oh my God, that was just amazing. Oh my gosh, you were so like," that's not where you are, and all of a sudden, boom, it's not landing. I think the first question I asked you, which is something I ask all the people that I give feedback to, is what about it did you love? What about it didn't you like? So
yeah.
like it starts with you. You tell me how you feel first. But I think that giving authentic feedback is, even if it feels like it might be a bit edgy, is so important because the receiver knows their strengths and their weaknesses. And what you're doing is in a sense validating, supporting, and guiding, towards the next, you know.
And that's where it's so important for people to realize that when we're talking about recognition and fueling people's cup, like building their well-being and their resiliency, it's not about just being nice. It's not about just being kind. It's also about seeing where they could grow, seeing where their baseline is and see what's possible. And it's not just rescuing people who might be struggling. It's also giving feedback to people about what you see in them. So I'm wondering for you, Michelle, if you've also sort of had to deconstruct this notion that wellness is all about like creating this sort of positive, fluffy, safe place to land always. And I can't help but wonder if that sometimes is what gets a bad rap about the importance of wellness, is that we've almost packaged it wrong. Am I off
I think you're
here?
absolutely right. And if we go back to that authenticity that we're just talking about, we've got to create wellness for ourselves that is authentic to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mountain biker. I careen down the hill at fast pace and climb up hills, and like it's suffering. It's like one of my comments is it doesn't have to be fun to be fun. That's not everybody's version, but I like naps. I like playing in the garden. I like good food and the good wine that goes with it. I like good sleep hygiene. And there's all sorts of other things that, I'm trying to get back into yoga because I used to love that. Don't love
Mm-hmm.
running, hate Pilates, like hate it.
Yeah. And you
But
don't have to punish
intensity,
yourself by doing it just because like somebody else is doing it.
well, and also like how we choose to eat, like right now, like, there's all sorts of information out there about what's considered a good diet. And we need to find our authentic space in that as well. I think we can get stressed from trying to figure out our wellness, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You need
what
you
what
need
what
to
feels good for you,
and
It's a
and
reason why you decided to get your 200-hour yoga training, because that's where your kind of heart led you, right?
it's actually was a gift to my 7-year-old self.
Oh, I love
Because
that.
I never planned on teaching. I mean, you and I, we live a lot of our lives on the road. At least 6 months out of the year, it's speaking season, and so we would be too unreliable a teacher. I think that was one of the challenges that you had. You're an amazing instructor, personal trainer, but it was tricky trying to juggle that with also
I
having
mean,
work.
I still teach cycle classes, but I have my schedule far enough in advance, and sometimes I have to get subs.
Hmm.
But to your point, it's hard to create any habit, especially when you're on the road. So yeah,
But it was a gift, an unconditional gift to my vitality, my flexibility, my the ability to see that I don't have to have an agenda to prove that that's a good use of my time. It was the first time I ever engaged in a significant learning activity. And I have, just like you, very well educated, and I really value continuous learning. But I never, honestly, I can't believe it took me 49 years, but I never said to myself, if you are going to spend hundreds of hours at something, what would you like to spend it on?
oh my God, with no promise of getting an ROI that's monetary, right?
Exactly.
Like
It's
the
not going to
ROI
make
is
you,
for me.
yeah, just for you. And just even for future you, with no guarantee that there is a future, because every day we wake up and we're lucky, right? There's no guarantee. It's for your 70-year-old self. You don't know if you're going to reach 70. You may reach 95 and then you get 25 bonus years. But the point is, it's like, if I realized, if I don't do this for myself, if I do not begin giving myself the grace, the kindness, the space that I give to others, and also that I'm espousing people deserve to take for themselves, what kind of role model am I
But
being?
that goes back to the very original concept of this conversation that we're having. Why am I so exhausted when I'm doing everything right? One of the best questions that we can ask for ourselves is, what do I need for myself? And anytime I've come through a moment of crisis in my life, whether it was, the multiple breakups I had in my 30s before I met my husband, or, you know, a, a tough time in my business, or the loss of my father or my brother, all of those things, as we recover, we can spend time in this place of, oh my gosh. And daily I would wake up and ask, what do I need for myself today? What's the one thing that I need to do first? And that question can open up so many things. And when you were in your state of, feeling burnt out and stretched, like, what do I need for myself? It's a hard question to answer sometimes when you're in that space. So then the second question would be, what do I no longer need, or what can I no longer live with, right? What's not working? Because that will often point you towards what you need.
And then on the other side of it, what have I learned about this whole thing? That knowing now, everything that I know now, all the lessons, what are the earlier signs that I will not miss this next go around?
Yeah.
And that's been the gift of burnouts that I've had in my life, is rather I've stopped saying to myself, like, how are you burnt out again? Like, seriously, Sarah, you know better than this. It was just an invitation for myself to catalog all of my strengths when they're overused. And then I realized, and I'm sure I had you in my head, and I just thought, so, well, obviously I needed to learn the lesson these, I don't know, however many times. I didn't even start counting them earlier because I just thought that was called life,
Right.
like being an adult. Who knew
Isn't that
being an adult
interesting?
wasn't
Yep.
burnout? Yeah. So it's like, well, what do I know now? And knowing what I know now is you got to get in front of it. And so that's where my very first thing that I did this summer was I gave summer to myself. I took 2 weeks off and I did Zumba classes with my mom and her 70-year-old friends. I cooked, but not out of obligation. I picked strawberries because I felt like sitting in a strawberry field on my knees listening to my audiobook. But I wouldn't have done it had it because I was going to pick jam. It used to be, oh, well, I have to go pick strawberries because it's cheaper and I have to make jam. No, I just want to sit in a strawberry field and listen to my book by myself.
Like, life is stressful and it's just hard, and this is just the way it is. Only if you allow that to be, because I mean, nobody works harder than you do. And I say that with reverence. You love what you do, and I love what I do, and I can put my head down and go, 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 because I love what I do. And even when we love what we do, if we don't stop and pick the strawberries or, paddle the kayak, it's not sustainable, or ride the bike. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's why we can be so exhausted even when we're doing everything right. Why we can be so exhausted when we love the work that we do, because we are emotional, physical, social, intellectual beings. That it's all energy. It all comes from here, and here, and so if we don't stop long enough to recover, there's that word again,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be able to do our best work.
So maybe we separate the two. We say, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing the best I can, period.
Mm-hmm.
Bracket. And I'm feeling exhausted. What if the two
I'm feeling
did not
exhausted. I'm feeling exhausted right now. So what do I need to do to fix that?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That it's a state, it's an experience, it's something that you've noticed. It's like, wow, I have noticed that I'm
In the
exhausted.
coaching world, right?
Yeah.
I can be both exhausted and exceptional.
Exactly. In fact, that probably is why you're exhausted, because you're exceptional.
But I
And
love the
so-
mindset shift, because simply saying, yes, I am excellent and I am
And
tired, means that they don't have to be connected. We can work on the tired separate
Yeah.
from the excellence.
Exactly. Yep. And the more we do that, the more we are able to learn the lesson, because it's not about the exhaustion. It's about what we need to learn about our exceptional, than not about the exhausted. Picking the right E to focus. And I'm really delighted for folks that they've had an opportunity to, the people in my world have had an opportunity to hear from you, learn from you. I know we often have the privilege of serving the same audiences, whether it's at the same conference or one year to the next. So I think that there's a lot of appreciation for again, those clients that we have in common, where they realize that sense of connection, belonging, meaning, mattering, appreciation that happens within ourselves and each other is not a separate animal from well-being and productivity and focus and wellness and resilience. And I'm delighted that we're at a time in history, particularly North America, with our culture of overwork, where we're curious enough to bring both of these important bodies of work that you and I stand for, and are able to remain curious and be building tools, strategies, and hopefully, and this is where I think our work overlaps, people not see them as programs. People see these as core human needs that we all have. And the more we meet our human needs, the better we're able to perform, remain satisfied, stay in our workplaces, stay in our relationships, and be in joyful aliveness
Love
in
our
our
lives.
lives.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to the conversation.
It's such a delight. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you were like, "Oh, I can't wait to chat about this"?
Oh my
We didn't touch on it.
gosh, is there anything we didn't talk about?
I know. I feel like we covered 1,693 things, and now
If
we
we
can go
start
right
talking
over.
again, we'll be going for another 45
I
minutes.
know
So
that's true.
perhaps another conversation another time.
Yeah, I love it. In fact, for folks who are listening to this, if there was another question that you have, please add it in the comments, because maybe we will be able to do a part two. In fact, this
Hmm.
is like part however many conversations we've had. Um, and for those folks who have been listening and tuning in this whole time, obviously you care enough about yourself, and thank you for taking the time for you. And you do not need to earn your rest. You deserve to be well, healthy, and to see your greatness, to fully live it. What would you like our listeners, as we part, Michelle, to remember about themselves?
Igniting high performance is not about going big and going bad. It's about the small, consistent steps you take every single day for head and heart to keep moving forward.
And that's why she's a Hall of Fame speaker, friends. Woo! Take care, everyone.